No, I did not get punched in the mouth or eat an entire blueberry pie. Again. Yep. This is just leftover from the lipstick I had on for my most recent video on Pornhub. So, yeah, there's that. But don't worry, you will see it again later on in this video, as whilst I was in Laval, I actually purchased some lipstick and eyeliner, or eyeshadow, or so. Well, technically I guess eyeliner, but I used it for my first video, my first porno video, as just eyeshadow, basically. But anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna put some on today for the video, here on YouTube as well. But so, probably wondering, where am I now? Well, I am in, actually right now I'm at the base of Montréal, or as it's pronounced in English, Mount Royal, which is the famous mountain and only mountain here on Montreal Island. It's quite noticeable. Oh, never mind. Thought they were coming down this way. It's quite noticeable on a map, and once you get more towards the downtown area of the city, you will, well, obviously be able to see it very predominantly, as it kind of overshadows its surrounding suburbs. But specifically, where I'm headed now, or where I'm right at the edge of, is the Plateau, Montreal borough of the city, which is a highly touristed area, and it's also clearly highly advertised by the city's tourism industry, but is also sadly highly exploited and suppressed, as you will come to see when I showcase it. I have been camped out on the mountain's summit, actually, a lower portion of peak, for the last, well, week now. And, well, it's been interesting. Some days like this, it's been very pleasant and peaceful to wake up to in the middle of the forest. And on days like the ones we've had for the two prior, raining and just high winds and just absolute misery, well, it's not been very pleasant, at least for me. But anyway, so okay, just to state, what I'm going to be doing with this video is I'm going to try and highlight, I'm going to do something similar to what I did for when I was in the city of Laval, Quebec, for exploring Laval parts 4 and 5. Not entirely, but I want to showcase it obviously to some degree. I'm going to try and pick either 3 or 4 restaurants to showcase, because this area is very high in, well, the restaurateur industry, and especially small businesses, and various cultural traditional cuisines from around the world, just foods of various ethnic groups. And also, it is very high in LGBTQ plus populace in terms of sexuality and gender demographics. I wouldn't actually, yeah, I'd say it's either equal to or maybe a bit higher than the LGBT residents of Little Italy in Villeray, but it's spectacular to see as far as I'm concerned, because there is very much from the municipal government's input and overshadowing, gentrifying corporate entities. Well, performative activism in relation to it, rainbow capitalism, but there is still a genuineness that shines through with it, even with the presence of said degradation. So I want to also showcase that, and I will this time, in terms of trying to gather some information from those in the local community, I will be asking around, more so probably from employees of or the owners of various establishments, about the gang activity of Montreal, as well as those that are in operation in Laval from, well, what I showcased while I was there. Specifically, so I'm going to write it down to be more discreet about it, given clearly the heavy presence territorially of gang syndicates here. I'm going to just write their names down on a piece of paper and ask people if they know anything about them, if I can. Well, if I have to speak up about their names, then I will. But specifically, I'll be trying to find out more about the Five Crews, the Nims, the Bracers, one other one that I saw in terms of tags that I saw in Laval. Forget their actual name, but when I'm in Wi-Fi, I'll rewatch the videos to the sections where they are and write their tag down. And then probably two more that I've seen highly active in this district of Montreal, as well as what I saw in Villeray, specifically in Little Italy. Because those seem, well, in terms of the first two mentioned and then the ones I've seen here, the ones I'm gonna write down, they seem to be the most active groups in the city that I've seen. And in terms of the Bracers and the other one from Laval, those two seem to be the most active in Laval. Or no, not the Bracers, the Basers. That's the name. The Basers, I think. I'll figure it out. I'll just find the names. But anyway, so I'll be doing that. Once again, to state, if any members of said gangs or anyone has affiliations to them see this, I have no quarrel with your... Okay, well, I have moral quarrel, and I think what you do is completely unethical, and you're horrible human beings for doing so. You're no different than the oppressors, economically and governmentally, legally, that caused past organizers of yours to form said groups. You're no different than them. But I have no want to, and absolutely cannot physically try and stop you. I'm not. This isn't some sort of any involvement of police investigations, as I despise police forces anyway. And they are impractical and do not work. So, yeah, I have no fight to pick with you. This is for sociological research purposes and analytical observation for my research. On top of that, I will also state that I mentioned this in the video I just made on Pornhub about specifically relationship dynamics, that recently I had been thrown into a rather taxing depressive episode. I've been feeling very, well, proper word would be, I guess, just motivational burnout. Conscious motivational burnout. I've been feeling a lot of apathy recently. And that's because of a lot of things, but one of them is actually because almost a week ago, some friends of mine from Toronto came up to visit me here in Montreal. I mentioned this in my video where I was talking about Noam Chomsky when I was in Laval, and how he had a certain amount of affiliations to Jeffrey Epstein in terms of financial dealings. And I mentioned that they were coming here, and we decided to visit. And I was very, very excited about that. Very happy that that was going to be happening. And then it happened, and I hadn't seen in person these people for over a year. It's been a year and a half, pretty well. I'll just say right now, I'm not going to talk about it fully here. I'll talk about it here on YouTube in a video right before I leave Montreal and head into Longueuil. But it was very disappointing, both on my part and theirs. But anyway, also another thing that I should mention, two more things. It's very clear to me, because I was trying to only stay here in Montreal for maybe a month and leave by the end of July, or in the first week of August, like August 1st or August 2nd, around there. Well, that's clearly not going to happen. Similar thing happened to me in Laval, so oh well. I want to try and get moving, maybe to just have a little more time to be in Lévis, Quebec, and Quebec City, Quebec, before the winter months came. But, well, I get there when I fucking get there, that's that. And in relation to that, another thing I will mention. In terms of my theories for my scientific proposals, my theoretical work, and implementation work, I was trying to finish typing them out before leaving Montreal, or at the very least, Longueuil, Quebec. That's not going to happen either. And that's been, well, annoying me. But yeah, I don't believe in rushing anything like that, or I don't believe in rushing anything at all, if it can be helped. Unfortunately, though, it seems my cognitive distance, I've been doing that quite a bit. So I've said, fuck it. They get done when they get done. That's that. They're not fully done by the time I leave Longueuil, which they're definitely not going to be. Well, too bad. My writing work will be done when it is done, and that's it. That's all I can say. So, I'm just gonna have to tell my perfectionist side to shut up about that. But, okay. Let's get going into Plateau, Montréal. And just, yeah, showcase it. Okay, so first up on our stop for restaurants is Beauties, which is a Canadian Jewish cultural restaurant with influence of Quebecois cuisine, if the bus will ever move out of the way, kindly. Thank you. And these two over here on the mural were the original owners of the restaurant, because apparently it was a different store, candy store, in this area before they purchased it. So yeah, let's go in. Also, again, yeah, I think you'll pick up on this very quickly. These people must, yeah, they must be carrying around ladders with them. I'm serious.
Why are you trying to get back? Not using
Okay, yes, I know I didn't really talk about the restaurant. Well, I didn't talk about it at all whilst being in there. It was very brief, well, what I showed of the food I had, but what I was eating was basically an egg and bacon and tomato sandwich on grilled challah bread, and beside it was a milkshake with vanilla ice cream, blueberries, and maple syrup. And as you can imagine, all of it was damn delicious. And so I was in there for about, well, maybe 50 minutes or so, and désolé. And I was a little rushed considering, oh, yeah, that's hypocritical, but considering they had a very long lineup, they were very busy, at this hour, as well as the fact that I was trying to upload said porno video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. But I'll just give a rundown of the place as I'm biking along here. Excusez-moi. So, you can also go back, as I filmed a bit of the backside of their menus, which details information about the history of the restaurant. So, you can pause that section and read it. But, regardless, so apparently this area used to be a major garment district for Montreal, separate from the main modern one, Ecstasy, down in, well, actually it's north of here, so over in, or up, out in Cartierville. And it was predominantly populated by those of the Jewish religion. Apparently this area was high in followers of Judaism, and I'm not sure if it still would be considered so today, considering I haven't... Whoa. Well, that's an incredible mural. God damn. Because I haven't seen much communal activity or cultural attire from individuals living here, or well, religious buildings of worship, such as these cathedrals, that would indicate a high Jewish populace, because, well, I haven't come across any synagogues in the area, or those wearing, well, I saw someone who was clearly a Hasidic Jew over in the main area of Plateau, Montréal, maybe 4 days ago or so, but they were the only person wearing any sort of clothing that was part of Jewish ethno-religious dressing. Désolé. But basically, this area used to, at some point, be very high in those practicing the faith living here. And there was an entire, well, sector of the city's fashion industry that was, ow, thanks Camden, that was centered around Jewish clothing production, or just businesses within the clothing production industry that were run by small business owners and, I don't doubt, mega corporate executives that were part of the Jewish community. And apparently that store, as I said earlier, used to be a candy shop that would open, I believe the menu said, only on weekends, and most of the local children would come and get whatever sweets they could. But then that store was, the leasing space was sold to different owners, that being the original owners of Beauty's restaurant. Oh God, I'm in someone's garden. Sorry about that. Oh God, Camden, straighten out. And so they started serving, or they converted it to a restaurant and started oh, okay, I saw it. Started catering to most of the factory workers for those within what used to be this major garment area. And they became so popular, apparently, their cooking, that most of the factory laborers would actually, on their days off, start coming to the restaurant to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the rest. So they wouldn't just go on their break times during their shifts. As I think the menu said that some workers actually would be quoted as saying that the food they made was better than not just, most likely, the terrible crap that they served probably in the factory cafeterias, but also the food that they had at home. And from there, the business started growing in terms of popularity. Now, in modern day, it's owned up by their child, who works in the restaurant and was sitting in there as I was eating, and they were the one who brought me into the restaurant, both today and the day before when I ate there. Now, they're still very clearly a small business entity. They're not expansionist, at least from what I looked up. There doesn't seem to be any other locations they have. And even with their popularity, like most places in the area, well, as you can probably tell by what I hope you're picking up on in terms of infrastructure, still massively struggling because of being relentlessly billed and taxed by real estate agencies, the landlords leasing out the units, hydro, water companies, air coolant systems, all the rest. And What you may also notice in the area is, just like most of communities of demographics that are highly oppressed, there is heavy police presence around here. In fact, I think along this road might have just passed a police station. Unfortunately. So, yeah, that's just the layout of the restaurant. Oh, and for those of you wondering, because it's predominantly Americanized and Canadianized European Jewish cultural food, probably more so with German and Austrian Jewish influence, but as well as obviously some amount of Israeli food influence. For those of you who may be confused, it's not the bread that they made the sandwich with. It's rather well-known Israeli egg bread. It's made with an egg base. But it's not, for those of you who have had it or eat it frequently and are pronouncing it challah bread, it's not pronounced challah bread. It's pronounced challah bread. Because in English translations, in terms of the Cyrillic alphabet from Hebrew to English, well, CH, or an English CH, makes a huh sound. In fact, actually, I'm pretty sure the original English translated spelling of Hanukkah, it has the CH, so some may be confused and might pronounce it Chanukah. Anyway, so this isn't the main area of Plateau, Montréal borough. That's just a couple streets over. But I was curious myself to go down here because I haven't actually ventured to the western half, or well, northwestern half more so, of the district since being here. So I just wanted to, well, see it and showcase it. So yeah, I'll go down there. I'll have to pass through it, but I'll mainly showcase the central area of Plateau, Montréal later on in the video. But right now, I'm trying to, I guess, work up some physical activity to, I guess, burn through what I can of nutrients digested yesterday by me, and I guess a bit of today, so that I'll have room for the other 3 restaurants I want to show. So, okay, I'll get back to you a bit later. Camden. Nearly ran into someone's garden again. What is it with you today? Oh my God! Christ alive. That one was my fault, Camden. Sorry about that. Not used to there being much speed bumps on back roads yet. Oh, then again, even in Toronto, didn't typically walk down many back streets in subdivisions. But then again as well, these are pretty poorly placed and pointless speed bumps. Okay, practically invisible speed bumps too. Given they're the same exact shade of color as this cracked, terribly maintained pavement. Jesus Christ. This is honestly some of the worst paving and maintenance of said pavement that's been placed down here I've honestly ever seen in any city that I've been to. Seriously, a hole that deep and pavement that sharply cracked, you're lucky if a car's tire doesn't burst upon impact, or at least cause some amount of tearing. Oh my God, I can never see these speed bumps either. Can you see them? Can any of you watching see them on the camera? Okay, I see these ones now because I'm looking at them. God, but they're almost invisible. Desolate. Oh my God. Jesus. Okay, for Christ's sakes. Why? Why are they even doubled up that close? Oh God. And the terrible garbage reek is back. Oh God. Ah. Oh. At the very least, somewhat of a creatively designed garage. Oh, desolate. What did that say, actually? Just noticed that. Qu'est-ce que comme to grandis. Okay. That might be saying something about communal support, but I obviously can't read it. Anyone who speaks Quebecois French, translate for me in the comments. Okay, so I'm sure you'll probably pick up on this if you're being observant throughout the video, but you may notice that as I'm going along here, mainly along the side roads that are, well, running as intersections through the main boulevards of the district. A lot more. Oh my god, okay. Fucking hell. Christ. That is really pissing me off. Just so everyone's aware, as I'm swiveling the camera around like this, I'm not looking at the camera, so you can't blame me for not paying attention to the road. No, I'm usually looking straight. I'm letting the camera just catch whatever it does when I'm swiveling it around in terms of the footage. So, anyway, you may notice that these roads right here, the ones intersecting with the main boulevards, are one way, predominantly, as you can tell by the cars, and only have one vehicle lane. And you may also notice that, well, probably see it down there, for every other road, well, one, depending on where you start. Okay, so say you start on this road here. I don't know what it's called, but down here, this road is the main boulevard in the central area, or so, of, well, this is getting into the central area of Plateau, Montréal. But you may notice that this one-way road is going, well, southbound, one way. So if you start here, well, every other road will follow its pattern. But the one before it, before that, the one after the next one, what? Okay, that didn't make any sense. But the next road will, as you can tell, go the opposite direction. It'll be going northbound. So, it's an interesting setup. And this is very much it's very European influence in terms of societal structuring for traffic regulation, as much of, oh my god, desolate. That was my fault. Desolate. Didn't look to my left. See them coming. So that was my fault. Actually, wait. Okay, maybe this one isn't following in the traditional pattern. This one's going northbound as well. Oh god. Okay. Yeah. I'm moving out of the way. Okay. Much of southwestern Europe, Spain, Portugal, Andorra, I believe, as well, and I believe at least most of southern France have these one-way roads, basically even so much as alleyways making up one-way roads for vehicles, and the lanes and actual areas for the vehicles to get by between the building structures is so tight that they quite literally can't fit more than one vehicle most often on said street without, well, letting one go first. Well, you can't in the sleigh. Oh my god. Oh. I'm hoping that that is just a decorative display, or again, local youths just engaging in social deviance. I'm hoping that's not marking either a drug distribution den or various murders that have taken place here, or worse yet, a gang murder house. Let's hope.
Bonjour. Désolé, je ne sais pas français québécois, anglais. Do you speak English? Sorry to bother you, just out of curiosity, just touring through the area. What's with all the shoes?
Oh, no.
They've been here for...
People that spin throwing shit there. You see them sometimes, but
Just fairly recently, or they just been around for a while?
it's been a long time.
Ah,
But it's not like gang associated with like some stuff like that. It's not about that.
Ah.
Sure.
okay.
Because there's nothing but fun.
That's good to know. Well, thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay, now maybe it was just a bit of metaphysized English with how they were wording things, but who else found it a little bit suspicious, I guess, or interesting, the fact that they, well, just their wording that a quick dismissal of but nothing's going on here in relation to gang activity. Just nothing's going on here. I mean, they told me that they had just, some of them had been there for a while. Just the shoes dangling there, or just, I guess recently a lot of people have just been throwing footwear all over the place on the power lines. But, well, I don't know. It just seemed a little quickly dismissive, but maybe not. Obviously, I'm not going to dwell too much on their wording, but, okay. Given the amount of, let me flip this, the amount of these that I'm seeing around, their story of it not being associated to gang syndicate activity is a little or, well, not story, their statement. It's a little, it's not holding up as well as one may think. But, I mean, again, maybe it's a mix. Maybe it could be in relation to it, or maybe some amount of it is in relation to territorial marking, and others are just social deviants throwing shoes on the power lines. But regardless, still not the most inviting sight to see. Okay, next stop. Commandes in Lequen, if I'm pronouncing that right. And interestingly enough, this is an Australian/New Zealandic fusion restaurant, which I have never once seen, not just anywhere in Canada, but nowhere in Canada or the United States when I lived there. I have never seen an oceanic restaurant of any kind anywhere. Obviously I've had certain amounts of Australian cuisine that's been incorporated into Canadian and American food, but never seen one that's actually, well, nationally just serving cuisine from Australia or New Zealand. So, this should be interesting. Okay, so what I got was a mini sweet potato pie, and then this this chocolate and caramel bar, which almost somewhat resembles a Canadian Nanaimo bar to some degree, but, well, I'm sure it has different ingredients in it. And it comes, this is definitely an Australian creation. It comes in these sleeved sort of little pouches here, which made its way into mass American corporate food production, I believe around the 1990s. But, well, either way, this looks damn delicious. So, let me try it. Yep, this is incredible. It's filled with more than just, well, mashed sweet potatoes that have slightly been caramelized on the top, I think. It's got some, I think, tomatoes and green peppers in there. And it has cumin in it as well, clearly. So, slightly spicy. Very nice. And the crust is very good too. Don't have anything to cut it with though. Go away, fly. It's interesting that this is the only oceanic restaurant I've seen in all of North America that I've been to so far. Interesting more so that I would find it here in Quebec, out of all places. Because I wouldn't think, at least going by what I've observed, that there'd be a high populace of Australian or New Zealandic immigrants or Tasmanian immigrants to the Quebec province of Canada. But, well, interesting. Alright, I'm gonna enjoy this. Leave me alone.
Now cooking. Sorry.
Yes, tell me.
Sorry to bother you. I actually was just wondering. I'm a bit new to the area.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you might know anything about just, Plateau, Montréal. If you
Yeah,
could tell me
it's-
anything about that.
It's a very nice neighborhood. Where do you live exactly? Like, just in which part of?
I'm
Just in general, you mean?
just in general.
Around here?
Yeah.
Well, here is kind of in between the Plateau and Myland. Myland is a really nice neighborhood. I don't know if you've been there much. Did you just arrive to Montreal?
Fairly recently.
Yeah? Okay. Well, Myland is a really cool neighborhood. Used to be, well, still kind of a Jewish neighborhood.
Oh.
It's really nice, lots of good places to eat. To me, it's like the neighborhood with the best restaurants. Plateau is also really nice. Just Montréal, the street, is full of nice little shops and cafes and pubs and everything. So, yeah, I don't know, did you want to know about anything in particular? Like places to eat or bars or...
Actually, just when I picked up, some more of the local residents, there's a lot of English speakers around here, it seems, compared to the rest of Montreal.
Well, that's funny because the Plateau is mostly, there's a whole lot of French people who live there. Like all the French immigrants who come to live to Montreal. Most of them go and live on the Plateau. So it's funny you say that, but in Myland is predominantly English speaking. So that's probably why, because we're kind of like in between. Maybe that's why.
Makes sense too.
But yeah, the Plateau is a really cool neighborhood. I live there too. It's really, really nice. Lots of nice little spots, good atmosphere, always something happening. Hello. Richard, oui, je te lis ça tout de suite. C'est encore dans le fond, mais ça va bientôt sortir. Il reste 5 minutes encore.
D'accord, je vais venir.
Parfait.
Merci.
Sorry about that.
As well as actually, I'm a bit of a social researcher myself.
Yeah.
And for the specific area, I've been seeing some graffiti tags around, things like
Yeah.
might you by chance know anything about what they mean?
I've never seen those actually.
Ah, okay, well.
Sorry about that.
Just was curious. Okay, well.
But yeah, if you ever come by and you need more information or nice little spots to go to, just come in and we'll be happy to help. Hope you have fun in Montreal.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
See you later. Have a nice day. inviting and chipper person. But, so that's interesting. So, Mile End, I should probably talk about that area, as I'm not gonna... Okay, I was thinking I'd showcase more of the Mile End borough for some of the last exploring Montreal videos before leaving the city, as I came into Plateau, Montréal from there, because it's right in between Villeray and, well, this district. And while I was there, I actually noticed a predominant amount of what seemed to be Swiss populace or Swiss cultural attire, modern Swiss, more of like urban Zurich or Geneva aesthetic. But apparently they said there's a high Jewish population around there. So, okay, I didn't notice that when I was first in that area. Must have missed it. Maybe that's predominantly where a lot of the initial Jewish garment industrial complexes were back in the 1940s and 50s. So, and maybe in modern day as well, there's a lot more, well, as they're saying, obviously from their knowledge, there is a high populace of those who worship Judaism and practice in the religion. So, when I'm back down there, I'll have to check that out. But, well, unfortunately, they didn't know much about, well, if I can ever grab it out of my pocket, because I took the time when I was in Beauties to write this down. These would fold out a bit more. Yeah, I think for the last one I got, if you go back and watch the Exploring Laval videos, I got that gang's tag down quite accurately, if I do say so. Obviously there's a bit of an issue with the first symbol, but oh well. So, no further leads on that from them, but oh well. I should also mention, though, this is the first time I've been to this restaurant. I haven't, for this one and the next one, which is conveniently enough right across the road from this one, I have not been to before. I just thought every time I pass by them, they look very interesting and I want to try them. But, so, yeah, I'll state that. However, I think I'm going to have to... I thought I was going to be able to do this video in one day. Definitely not. I will have to record the other half of it tomorrow. As well as considering the fact it looks like we may once again get rain dumped on us, because the weather forecast just called for a slight amount of drizzle closer to 6 o'clock p.m. It is now 6:09. Nothing yet, but the skies are starting to sour, it looks like. Turn gray. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to split this video up between days, because as well as I mentioned this in my porno video, the one I just recently uploaded, that there is actually a theater that I found here in Plateau, Montréal, in the central area, or the western central area, that is actually, interestingly enough, a pornographic theater. And it's apparently bustling, it's a bustling site in terms of sex work culture. So, I said in the video, because the night that I had found it, I recorded it, a portion of it, showed it, and from the street view, and said I would try going inside and seeing the place in my next Exploring Montreal video here on YouTube. So that's what I intend to do. But, okay, they close at 11 p.m., so that gives me time. But, well, I will do that tonight. So, to just make you aware. Oh yeah, just to state, the pie was absolutely delicious. The full throughout. And that caramel bar, it was a little overpowering in terms of richness. And it kind of was similar to an Nanaimo bar, just in terms of structure and texture. But it was pretty good. But the pie was definitely the better menu item. But either way, oh, easily the first time trying that specific Australian or New Zealandic dish. Actually, yeah, I didn't actually find out whether that pie was Australian or New Zealandic, or hell, maybe if it's a combination of the two nationalities' cuisines. But anyway, I'm gonna go back up the mountain quickly and cover up my belongings so that they don't get all soaked again, because I just recently was able to, for the first time since I've had it, wash at a laundromat my thermally insulated sleeping bag, as well as my red sleeping bag. First time washing them, and I don't want them to be ruined again, so let me do that because it is starting to spit now. Okay, last restaurant of the day, Restaurant Queen Sheba, which is an Ethiopian restaurant. Again, I've never been here before, and to my recollection, I've maybe only had like one or two small sweets that are Ethiopian, or that have been not even like full food, desserts that either are Ethiopian, originated from Ethiopia, or are heavily prevalent in the cuisine of Ethiopian food, but I've never actually had fully authentic Ethiopian meals. So, this will be an interesting experience. Alright, let's go on in. So, apparently, I didn't know this, I guess a lot of Ethiopian dishes are eaten more so with your hands. Kind of similar to that of what's, well, culturally common in more predominantly Islamic countries. And also, as well as going into most of Central Asia and, well, Central East Asia as well. More closer to Bangladesh, Myanmar, Vietnam, and all sorts. Even though there are dishes in that part of the world there are utensils provided to some degree. But what do you do with this one? This one's called, this dish is Dorowat, I believe is the name of it. This is bread. It's a very thin and soft bread material. I don't know what it's called. But if you take this, or at least the waiter told me, you take this and you just scoop out the, I believe this is ground chickpea and maybe some amount of ground chilies and chickpea, and you eat the chicken with it, and the egg. But I ate the egg, separately. But this is damn delicious. And I actually didn't notice that what most of the other ingredients was sitting on was also the same bread material. Because these ones were, well, gold, like this. And also, silly me, I was pulling this apart like that, and I didn't know that I guess you're supposed to unroll it. But it's fantastic. If I can ever try to pull apart the chicken, though. So just in terms of eating it, it is similar to a lot of Northern African dishes for more hands-on customary etiquette. And I think they gave me a fork and knife just to cut through the chicken with, but it's easy enough to pull apart. Because I think the waiter could tell that I've never really had Ethiopian food before. Clearly. I'm pretty sure the salad is supposed to be eaten the same way. But if not, whatever. Now, I'm definitely not going to be able to finish all of this. So, hopefully I can get a to-go box for it. Oh, and also, here actually, let me just clean off my hands. Okay, that's better. I also ordered some Ethiopian chai tea, which is it's chai tea, I believe, but it's prepared a certain way, and it's a lot, well, I guess, yeah, it was just more warmed up, but it's a bit more tangy than most chai teas I've had, especially very spicy chai tea. Or chai that's more so, I guess, infused with something like garam masala or a masala spice, I believe, in terms of Indian and Pakistani cuisine and Kashmir cuisine as well. I don't know how often. I think it's commonly, in terms of the cultural cuisine there, it's infused with masala of some kind. I know there's garam masala, tandoori masala, I think there's one that begins with an H and then masala, name follows it. I think there's a few masala spices, but typically, culturally, in Eastern Central Asia, a lot of chai teas I've had have been spicy, but this one's more tangy. It's very, very good. And apparently I was given a spoon for the tea. I don't know for what reason, because I wasn't given anything to add to it, but oh well. I guess if I just wanted to, actually no, I'm not even gonna guess it. That wouldn't really make sense. Just stir it around for no reason. Maybe that maybe that might enhance the flavor of it somehow. I'm not sure. But either way, very enjoyable. Okay, never mind. I'm just oblivious. Apparently, the server set the sugar packets down behind the water, and I just didn't notice it. So yeah, that's what the spoon and the plate were for. Adding it to the tea. I am done. Those clouds look very, very mean. So, yep. Gathering information. Still at bottom of the barrel in terms of knowledge. Oh, and yes, finally was able to have a chance to put on some amount of makeup. I was going to try and apply the eyeshadow to, well, my eyelids, but didn't have enough time for the public washroom that I walked into. So either maybe at some point, well, maybe later tonight or tomorrow. Whilst this is sort of dissipating because of my saliva, and also because of, well, most likely the rain that'll fall on my face. There is now a decent amount of storm clouds overhead of central Montreal. So, but anyway, for the rest of the night, given that's now 8:06, first I'm going to head and showcase a bit of a ways of the main boulevard here for Plateau, Montréal, and then head down to that erotica theater and see what that's about. So, let's get going. Okay, so This is the main business sector area of the borough. And seems no matter the weather, sunny or downpour, precipitation, there's always some amount of, well, major activity going on here. Always tourists, that's for sure. But businesses, predominantly restaurants, but a good chunk of clothing and thrift stores too, and maybe some amount of, well, there is an amount of gift shops, boutique stores. Well, they see quite a decent amount of, well, attendance. However, that does not stop the property owners from, well, demanding higher payment for, well, the business that the establishments see. As you could probably guess, in terms of the housing market, or just the entirety of the real estate market, the value of this area is, well, needless to say, incredibly sought after. In terms of, well, selling for property realtors. And, oh, hey, Avenue Laval. Well, you're in the wrong city, street. Thanks, clouds. Just, I don't know if you could hear on the audio, a bunch of water just dripped down on me from the tree. But it's heavily admired by sellers' point of view. As is clear for, oh, just a lit. As is clear by what I showcased of the living quarters just beside this main stretch of road. Given the fact that most of the residents of the area, those who live here and work here, very much are more lower middle class to impoverished in terms of essentials affordability. Now, you may think, well, wait, Cam, wouldn't that mean that it might be more sought after by the ultra-rich, or those at the very least of upper middle class? Well, no. You see, here's the thing as far as I'm concerned with real estate marketing, or just, here's the thing with the value that is determined for free market resource redistribution in a capitalistic system in general. The elitist factions of the world that have a mass hold on a multitude of resources that are needed by all groups of people, or at the very least have a major grip on the resources within a specific, well, commercial industry that is sought after by others within the business, or those who are customers of a specific business, well, or business type. Well, here's how, as far as I'm concerned, value in terms of economic profit is determined. How, from recent times, my analysis of it. Because I remember I said when I was in Ottawa for my video about how social constructs aren't innately problematic, and wondering if we should see capitalism as a form of fascism in disguise, and absolutely yes, not even in disguise. It is a branch of fascist economics. Just diverging off the main boulevard here. I said that because at the time I was not entirely sure of how certain amounts of profitable value is determined by those in the corporate world in terms of the products that are produced and the value within the stock market in terms of exchange. Well, I figured that out now, as far as I'm concerned. If something is in high demand, a product, if it's in high demand by a major populace within a nation, in a city, in a specific territorial division of a country, or globally as a whole, transcontinental, well, then it's seen as a very high value product. And thus, in terms of its manufacturing, its distribution to various retail sellers, or whatever seller provides the resource at a immediate commercial level for the general populace, for transport of said materials to make the product, or just transport of the product itself. All of this, in terms of something being very highly used by a populace, it is seen as having a higher value, and it's worth a high value on the market. Because a lot of people use it in some form or another. And just the same, if something is a very rare material that would be hard to obtain, and it's not frequently sold to those of a general populace because of said rarity, economically, it's also seen as very high value and very expensive to manufacture, to distribute, and especially to purchase from those who are able to financially afford said material. So, one way or another, as far as I see it, something that is commonly used, that in a competitive economy is constantly being sold non-collectively to a community. I'm sure you'll see more of them rather soon, depending on how much footage I get of the roads tonight. Oh, screw you, yellow light. And just the same, those that produce and sell harder to afford material is also tremendously profitable. And those of you who are, so as far as I'm concerned, its value on the stock market is incredibly high. And in terms of the corporations that own up most of the resources, the mega corporations, for the everyday sold goods, well, it's just as profitable. And those of you who are narcissist, intellectually complex stock market invest now bros or dudettes out there who think no, you got to know when to put your bonds into this, you got to know when to invest in this specific product, when the market's gonna go in this direction and all the rest. Load of malarkey, load of nonsense. Okay, your idea that this thing is more valuable than this at this specific time in general, or this is highly sought after and nothing else is going to be charged an extensive amount or seen as highly valuable as this thing at this current time, it's a load of fucking nonsense. All of it is utilized by corporate elites to drum up as much profit from the lower classes, and in terms of the elitist factions, drum up profit, highly expensive and high amounts of finance from their own ultra wealthy communities. All of it. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, told you you'd see more. So, it's not this. As far as I'm concerned, it's not this hard to understand concept, and it's a highly destructive one at that. They will make it out to be more intricate and complex than it actually is, those who constantly engage with capitalist stock market profiteering, especially those who are gurus online for becoming, or so-called sharing advice for becoming millionaires as stockbrokers and holders for corporate exchanges. They create mass propaganda for the elites. And it's, well, very, very sadly, very effective at convincing people to throw their financial savings and waste so-called investments on these resource holders in the mega company conglomerate world. So, just thought I'd throw that in there to, well, relate it to the extensively poor infrastructure of most of the surrounding living quarters of the neighborhoods here in Plateau, Montréal. And you'll notice in what I'm showing you right now and tomorrow when I showcase more of it back on the main boulevard, that the infrastructure in terms of actual physical construction communally on boulevards like these, well, it doesn't look terribly bad. It's rather functional for the most part in the setups they have. So you may think it's not that big of an issue because portions of the neighborhoods are well enough cared for by the municipal government and its corporate lobbyists and investors. But no, that's very, very problematic. Given the fact that it's so clear that these areas, these portions of the district are only maintained to drum up tourism and are only given some amount of beneficial repairs and remodeling by municipally hired or operated construction crews, so that those within the mega corporate tourism industry can make extensive profit off of it, and thus those economic elites and all the corporate entities that have paradeals and business ties to said tourist agencies and, well, tourist groups that provide, well, that provide actual showcasings of areas of the city so that it'll make mass profit for them. It'll make them a lot of money. A lot of it. That's the only reason. And for the most part, as you can tell, despite the physically improved construction work of the area, the main boulevards of this borough, well, it's still just the bare minimum. God, this is a horrible stench yet again. Yeah. Bare minimum. Lest not we forget the garbage crisis that Montreal is undergoing. So, it's, well, it's so... Yeah, oh God. There's water on the lens. It's an absolute hellscape nightmare. Okay, that was a paramedic, not a police cruiser. Désolé. Oh God. Ah, yes. And if you couldn't tell, gentrification persists extensively around here. I'll show more of it tomorrow. Right now, let's get to this porno theater. Okay, here it is. Cinéma Mont. So, this is a pornographic film showing theater. As you can see, you can reserve sections, it seems. Well, it's saying couples, but I'm sure they allow singular attendance too. So, ironically, I missed it again when coming down here. Passed right by it, just the same as I did the first time I was trying to find it. So, I don't know how much I'm actually going to be able to film in there. That will be allowed on YouTube, but we'll find out. So, yeah, this should be an interesting endeavor.
Oh, you think you're so fucking rude? Well, never mind that now. You're a writer. My rules. And I have an apology all worked out. Starting with Cora hydrating your champagne. Nighty night. Jerry, try to keep your voice down. I'll have to send a piece yet.
about your daughters, have you?
Free love, JC. That's all anybody wants these days. But you gotta teach them. You gotta teach them that nothing is free. And no one's going to have one of my daughters for free. Or else you stop making additions to my will.
I don't talk about your will. The girls you're not last us all.
I won't live long enough to get all of these morality initiatives on the ballot, JC. But I've provided a funding for them in my will to continue the campaign.
And I'll continue to do whatever I can to keep it going.
Will you, JC? Really?
For real.
Yeah, I've only got for real, JC. Real. Real. Real daughters, real family, real morals, real, pure taste. Be real. Never remain. Or else. What do you think of these? Gay rights, women's rights, JC.
It's an abomination. It should be drawn in accordance. Debone and declare.
We're predators, all right. We see this world the same way.
I got it. You have to put this one on me. This thing, Jerry's for amateurs, brain amateurs. Calm down. I want you to give some details.
Well, it's just textbooks, no different.
And if you don't want to give some details, go. Now, there's 1 down, 4 to go. The next young lady will be Constance, Henry, Church.
But you really need some fresh country air.
Let's get out of here. She's gonna give me a drug sport.
Take a few deep breaths. Then, make some salad.
Hey, wait. I'm through with games for the day. Move.
What? These?
Yeah.
These are my balls.
Let me see. All right. Oh, I chose to say something here.
Oh,
A kiss, a kiss. See. Touch me, touch you.
you're a fraud, Jeremiah. I don't think you're so macho. I don't think you're a frightened little boy type either.
Well, it covers what you don't think. How do you think?
I'm not sure.
Because you may try something else in the future, so I thought I'd better let you know.
Every film.
I brought the film so you can see it burn.
Hello. I see. All right. That was JC. He's expecting delivery of a very special film and insists on giving me a preview of it tonight.
Well, that's the film. He'll have nothing. Unless they try to sell it the raw stock as the real thing.
I don't think I've ever warned JC about the future. Want to come along?
Everyone for joining. This is a very special event, and we're very happy that you all joined us tonight. Hopefully you had a good time. I know we did encourage good reactions in the audience. Feel free to stick around, hang out, talk. We have merch in the lobby if you're interested. We're doing a raffle for one of the original vintage posters as well. Yeah, thank you again. Thank you.
So, this clip that I'm filming right now will be one of the last ones of this video. And you will see it immediately after, well, what I showcased of the interior, and hopefully, if I censor it well enough, the feature presentation at Cinéma Mont. Because, well, a few things happened. One, I will say this, because, well, I tried talking about this briefly in the video that I just recently tried again to upload to Pornhub. But, well, the film that they showed, the porno, was one from 1979 during what was mainly considered, I guess, the original golden era of pornography. Now, based on what they described, I could definitely say that there's been, in the indie porn community, some amount, and in terms of the animation porn community, a resurgence in that. But, regardless, it was called the Ecstasy Girls. And the theater operators gave, well, just a speech on general information about the film, its director, writers, the performers in it as well, and it was all incredibly interesting. And apparently, I looked up the director as well. Gary Glaver, I believe, was his name. he's done films, standardized films too, not non-pornographic. But oh, just a sec. But he was very much an underground filmmaker during his time. I think he's passed away now, if I'm not mistaken. But, well, I have to say, I was incredibly impressed. And not only is that easily the Ecstasy Girls, one of the best pornos I've ever seen, it's also downright one of the best comedies I've ever seen. The story centers around I guess you could call it middle ground celebrity actor who has been trying to find work but is highly, well, sexually vigorous. And basically, I'm not going to give the whole thing away. Hopefully, I tried seeing if there's copies available online. I think there is, for viewing the film. Basically, the main character gets roped into a scheme to try and desecrate the image of 3 daughters of a very wealthy millionaire who's, well, had high involvements with, well, various corporate charitable affairs, and is very staunch on oppressing sexual promiscuity and sexual expression. And this associate of theirs wants to basically tarnish his daughter's image, his 3 daughters' images, socially, so that he can be written into the will of this dying, well, millionaire elitist. And to do so, they end up hiring the main character and the main character's 2 friends to basically seduce them into sexual engagement. And you may think, well, this seems like a terrible idea by your ideologies, Cam, for a porno, which on the surface it sounds like it would be if it sexualized that portion of it. But it doesn't. It doesn't sexualize the fact that of why they're engaging in the ultimate goal of the sexual activity, these 3 individuals with the daughters. And it actually showcases pro-socializing and compassionate sexual engagements, even though ultimately the goal of this little endeavor with these 3 is to tarnish their images. And in doing so, it's very comedic. The writing is incredible for when they specifically time the bits that are supposed to be humorous, especially in sexual comedy. And ultimately, the plan is ruined as the main character, who basically falls in love with one of the daughters, it seems, towards the end, well, has a change of conscience, of moral values in that regard. And I wish I had recorded more bits of it, because though, okay, as most certain amounts of sexualization in an amount of most of the pornographic industry, mega corporately produced studio ones, and also the indie porn industry, it's still, there are parts that suffer from, well, more patriarchal displays of sexual affection and romantic affection, which, and it more so suffers from the same thing that a lot of mainstream stories, films, books, television shows at the time suffer from in terms of that, in terms of depictions.
Tu dis ça quelqu'un. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Bonne vie. Oh,
Thank you.
merci. Bonne vie. Merci. Okay, interesting little interruption. They just wanted to know the time. And I don't know how to say 12:54 in Quebecois French, so I just went like that to them. But, so, it suffers from that at points, and I think the ending was a little rushed, it seemed. It was too abrupt, because we get to a point at the climax where we see this incredibly sensualistic interaction between the main character and one of the daughters who they've fallen romantically in love with. And then it just, as you'll see in the footage hopefully, then it just cuts to what is pretty much 4 minutes before the ending. And when it happened, I was sitting there and I thought, oh, okay, it's over. That was a little abrupt. But as well as in another scene that I will showcase hopefully at the, oh, stepped on a piece of wood. At the beginning of when I was viewing the film, it's somewhat to a point. This is the only point where it almost sexualizes and fetishizes something that I think is detrimental to do so in terms of aggressive domination, in terms of, well, unconsensual and unconsentful sadism and a dominatrix fetish. But other than that, it was fantastic. And as you'll hear in audio later after this clip, I went back to Cinéma Mont yesterday, as I wanted to get another feel for the general crowd that comes, other than, say, at times when they're displaying more festive film festival type events. And, well, as you'll hear, it's not great. So this theater is apparently one of the last erotica theaters in all of North America that's officially regulated and in operation. That's officially recognized as a private business entity. Obviously, there are people who showcase small group gathering porno setups in, say, like their basements in a small town or something like that, or have a yard theater party with a projector and things like that. But this is one of the last actually set in very old, very antique theater. It's the last one in all of Canada. And in terms of North America, one of 3 or 4. I believe it was the manager of the theater, told me a couple nights ago when I was there that, no, sorry, 3 nights ago when I was there, that there might be 2 in Los Angeles, USA, and maybe 1 in, maybe 1 in, I think they might have said Miami or Orlando in America, but that's practically it. But so they've been trying to maintain, well, keeping this this type of theatrical experience alive. Sadly, though, in terms of what they have going right now on more of a daily basis, I'm just going to say this. That night was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had. But in terms of the 2 other times I've been there, in terms of what they've been showing, it's some of the worst pornography I've ever seen in my life. It really is. It's mainstream over-sexualization, over-fetishization, incredibly racist and highly sexist and misogynistic depictions. Very much catered to patriarchal consumerism. It's not good. And what I am happy about, though, is they are very, very accepting at the theater, and it's for the upper booths are for couples to reserve for sexual activity. And yes, people engage in sexual intimacy in the theater. Both times I was there was at least, I think, a 3-way of some kind going on in the theater, and there might have been a 5-way or an orgy happening in there the second time I went, not for the event. So I'm happy about that. However, last night was not so great, as there were clearly 2 people who were very sexually predatory, especially towards me, if you'll hear in the audio. They were I said that I know that the clients tonight were not very happy with the film, considering 2 of them were clearly jerking off to me. And I wasn't happy with how the manager who I was speaking to, was more dismissive of that, but, well, I ended up resolving that issue because I just moved seats from where I was. And one of them ran out the back doors after they were done. So anyway, but sadly, after that happened, after I went and saw the Ecstasy Girls, something else, well, came along to tarnish the evening. So you might notice that I don't have Camden with me, because he's gone. Someone stole him. I had done what I usually do and left him outside of the theater, and I specifically positioned him in a place at a little wooden dining seating area outside of the theater for the cafe just adjacent to it. Specifically positioned him so hopefully no one would see him. And hi. There are a lot of cats in this borough of Montreal. Anyway, you might be thinking, though, okay, well, Cam, why didn't you ask to just leave your bike inside the theater? I did. Wasn't permitted. Only for the employees. Sadly. And the first time I went there, not to see the Ecstasy Girls, so earlier that night, I had left Camden just out on their little porch, just out in front of the cinema, and he wasn't taken. But sadly, when I went back And after all was said and done, I went out and I looked over and he was gone. And all that was left was this shitty, rotting, deteriorating foam bike seat of his that I had been wanting to get replaced. Isn't that metaphorical? And ironic. So, you might be also asking, well, did you do something similar like with your backpack in Laval when it was stolen? Run around the area trying to find if someone had just immediately taken it, asking people if they had seen a bike that was dingy purple with no bike seat, somewhat rusted? No. I knew that it was ultimately futile. I'm not gonna find Camden like that. And that night it was raining, and I just walked back up Montréal, half crying and just reflecting on all of it. Now I'll address more of like that portion later in the video, because I'm going to showcase one more restaurant today, because I didn't end up, well, showcasing most of the main boulevard here of Plateau, Montréal yesterday. And then, so on top of this, I ended up just taking the next day to just think and just sit with the sadness of it. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'll obviously trek on, as I do. And I thought at least I'll be able to, which I did the next day, upload my re-edited porno video that had initially been taken down by Pornhub for violating the guidelines, which I did. And then I get an email a few hours later saying your video is now live on Pornhub. And I thought, okay, good, thank God, because I had spent 3 fucking days making this video with a lot of trying difficulties to do so. And then I go into my channel on Pornhub to look at the notifications, and I see that it says your video has been disabled. And I nearly just screamed out loud. So I once again emailed Pornhub's modeling service team to figure out why. What was the problem this time? It wasn't removed, it was just disabled. So it's not visible to the public, and it's not visible to me even, because you can't see it in my videos feed. So I've tried emailing them to figure out why, and they once again, as I will have said in the video I made 2 videos before this about toxic relationship dynamics that was supposed to be on Pornhub, well, I got the same auto-generated response right now, and they sent it 2 times. It was half completed the second time. That's how I know it's not an actual person, because literally the text was half completed. It just said, we thank you so much, along the lines of, we thank you so much for using our tech support service. Stop. Just mid-sentence. So, I'm now waiting to hold a representative at Pornhub's modeling program team. Until then, I wait. Hopefully, we can resolve the issue and it'll be available, visible to public eyes. But until then, let's hope I can export this video with whatever storage I have right now, as I've been trying to keep an eye on it. And since I was having those storage issues in the St. Leonard borough of Montreal, I've been keeping track of how much I'm actually using up. And it's been working well. But of course, a corporate platform operator has to fucking intervene and cause so much disrupt because of the bloody idiotic regulated guidelines, which are performative anyway by Pornhub standards. So, let's hope I can do that whilst keeping that video saved, so that if I have to re-upload it, I bloody well do so. Right now, let's get to the last restaurant I want to showcase for this video, and then actually show some amount of this main boulevard. So, yeah. Alright, here it is. The Happy Cat Cafe, or Chat Le Heureux. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And also, on its opposite end here, it has a gift shop, it seems. But the last time I was dining in the place, it was, I believe, closed. But yes, as I will have stated in whatever clip I put in before this, as now this video is going to be almost completely out of order. Yep, there are actual cats inside the cafe. So, shall we? My phone's gonna die, so I'll make this quick. This is easily one of the most unique restaurants I've ever been to. I don't actually think I've ever been in a sort of restaurant establishment that has allowed animals to be inside it, that were actually a part of, well, the theme of the restaurant. In terms of cuisine, it's much more, it's Quebecois cultural themed, as well as it seems some amount of Central European dishes. But yeah, it's a very pleasant and very interesting experience. The food is fantastic as well. It's not just like, they're not just relying on the cats as like their main attraction, and they're also very clearly not using the animals as just a prop, which I'm very thankful for. I don't think there should be obviously regulated policies, but in terms of clearly how much they care about the animals, there's a list of rules of what they don't want you doing with the animals and what you can do. They also mandate that you wash your hands very thoroughly once you come in to prevent spreading any sort of pathogens to the felines. It's also, I'm sure you could tell in the clip before this, they've rigged up walkway systems all throughout the cafe's interior for the cats, as you can see, to climb up on, and also a certain amount of, I don't know if you can see it up there, holes that have been cut out in the drywall, and probably some sort of bedding or things put in sections behind them for the cats to actually escape into, which they do. Which again, I'm very happy to see. Now, for those of you who are claiming that, well, this is a massive health risk, or who think, well, isn't this unsafe for cooking in terms of sanitation? No, not at all. I'm just gonna dispel that little notion right now. For those of you who own cats in your house, do you eat in your house with your cats? There you go. Oh. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna enjoy this without recording anymore. At least at the moment, because my phone is dying. Well. Okay, my mistake. I just remembered that I actually have been in a place that had at least one animal within its vicinity, not as any sort of attraction for the restaurant. It was just, well, the owner's pet dog, it seemed, and they walked up to my, actually, it was here in Montreal, in St. Leonard. It's just a small Quebecois cultural themed cafe. The dog was I believe it was a Doberman Pinscher. It was a really small one. Yeah, so that's the only other time. So, yeah, just wanted to inform you of that. Don't know why, just did. Alright, next stop is Mama Khan. It's a Pakistani themed restaurant, culturally. I ate here a few days ago, and it's the first time I've had Pakistani food since living in Toronto. So, in we go. Okay. I'm also now just taking into account of how long it's been since I've specifically had both butter chicken and biryani. Again, last time being Toronto. So. Still just as good as ever. It really is interesting how those of the elitist class, corporate executives, CEOs, and those of high political positions in terms of politicians, always will give such performative praise in terms of neoliberal, fascist ideology. They'll give so much performative praise to various aspects of different cultures in the modern world from across the globe, no matter what it may be, for the most part. But you'll never see any of them actually attending places or being actively a part of the communities of these demographics, actively involved in anything beyond the encroaching legal systems or the oppressive economic policies that those of said demographics follow in terms of working underneath their control. Oh shit, just spilled some on my shoes. Wasn't even leaning it over top of over the table's edge, and I still managed to somehow spill it with a fork. But oh yeah, I thought that was something I'd just point out. Especially those as well. It's just as prevalent amongst those who have become a part of a supremacist faction societally, who are a part of in some way the demographic of the various demographics that have been suppressed. They too will engage with culture traditions that are not some inherently detrimental and some not inherently detrimental, but are viewed as superior. But they'll still engage with that over what they have culturally been accustomed to in terms of youth in their own communities. So I just thought I'd point that out. So bit of okay, this is fun. I'll explain why in a second. If it'll do it. You're not gonna do it? Okay. So Here they have these metal cups that are in sort of a half funnel shape, almost. Not entirely, obviously. But mine, the one I have right now, it's not entirely, you can tell it's been cut. The metal has been trimmed and shaven down. And I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is tin. I could be wrong, but it seems like, from what I know of tin material, similar to it. But mine isn't entirely sanded down. I don't know if you can see at the bottom. So it sort of rolls or twists and turns. Okay, yeah, I know this isn't probably the most entertaining thing to most people. Shut up, it's fun. Especially considering how balanced it is, even with the misshapen bottom, so that the water doesn't, well, capsize it. It's fun, be quiet.
Yes, actually, sorry. I was just wondering, I happen to be an analytical neuroscientist, and I also do quite a bit of sociological research for various areas that I'm in. I've been going around to various small businesses and trying to get information on this. I was wondering if you might be able to tell me something about these graffiti tags that are around the city. I've seen some in this area. Do you know anything about these? What they mean?
No, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen anything?
I've never seen it. Do you know where you saw it?
Well, the first one I saw down in the garment district of in Cartierville, and the one that says names mainly around June. Quite a few, yes.
There's a really significance behind it, right? Yeah. So yeah, is that what you're trying to do? Like, put a significance behind what you mean?
Oh yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Was it? I see the view. I never like pay attention to it. But sometimes the font that we're in, very hard to read. Sometimes you get on 2 cents and it's cool. But no, that sounds pretty cool though.
Thank you. But it's alright if you know, but thank you.
No, back it up. I had no idea what you're thinking.
That's okay.
Take care. Hope to see you again.
You too.
Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Quite the night.
Quiet night tonight.
Seemed like it.
Yeah. Happens. A lot of people were not happy, but sometimes you gotta be patient in here.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it works. I expect something every day.
What exactly?
Usually Tuesdays are much better than this, for some reason. Construction holiday, a lot of people are on vacation.
What exactly do you mean by something?
Oh, a lot of couples are into like Tuesdays. Usually we get like 4 to 6 couples, you know, having a good time. Yeah.
Oh.
Happens.
Actually, I was wondering, I know I was here tonight's
Yeah.
but actually, I happen to be an analytical neuroscientist, and I do a lot of sociological research as well. And I also happen to be a pornographer myself.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and I was very pleased with the experience that night. I was here for
the Ecstasy girls?
Yes.
Amazing. I'm very happy to hear that. We put a lot of work into that evening.
Yes, it seemed like it.
We're gonna keep getting better and better at these events.
Do they happen on a frequent basis? Or?
We're doing it once a month.
Oh.
It's a new non-profit organization we started. It's called L'amour à minuit, Love at Midnight. So we're doing midnight screenings once a month, and all the money's donated to the cinema, restoring it, sound equipment, all production equipment. We're talking like projectors. We really want to turn this place around.
Ah. Yes, I can definitely say
Culture.
I noticed a drastic difference between, well, attendance before that show and then
Of course. It's catered to a complete different audience. We're talking film students, cinephiles, like really people who appreciate flavor and the art of the golden era.
Wow, that's good.
That's the goal.
Because I was going to ask. I was very pleased with the speech your coworker gave. Seemed like you guys
at the end, Aiden, I believe,
Yes.
the last one, yeah.
Seemed like
She
you
came
guys-
up with all the facts on the film.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a really good film. I think it got an honorary mention at Cannes. It won 7 of the awards at the AFAAs, which was the Adult Film Association Awards. It won like she said, best score, best supporting actress, best actor, best original song,
Yes.
best screenplay.
I've never seen I can definitely say I've never seen a porno like that. It's
Yeah.
easily also probably one of the best comedy films I've ever seen.
Right? Oh, well, you gotta come to see this one in August. Alice in Wonderland, X-rated comedy.
Ah.
It is hysterical. It's gonna be fun. We're trying to get the best copy of it right now, get the rights, but we should be able to finish that tomorrow.
Is it always at the end of the month?
We spoke about that today, so we're not sure. We're announcing tomorrow or the next day. I'm thinking every last Friday of the month.
Ah.
Keep it like the same date so people know. And like Friday, because our audience is probably in between like 25 and 40, maybe 25, 45. So it's best to do it on a night where they don't work the next morning. Sunday, we just aligned it with our anniversary, 42nd year anniversary of the cinema. So that's why it worked out. At midnight, it was our anniversary, so it was perfect. But going forward, Friday, Saturday.
Ah. I know that Montreal used to be, well, it still is, but as very predominant in the sex work cultural scene.
Yeah.
Did there used to be a lot of erotic cinemas here in the city?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. There was the Eve, the Venus. There was this was the Pussycat before, but yeah, they were all over the place.
How
They all
did
closed down.
How did this one withstand a lot of the closures?
We own the building, so we don't have to pay rent, which we're very lucky and thankful for. So it really helps with overhead. You know, if this was a place you're renting, we'd be gone. We would have gone bust a decade ago or even more. So we're lucky, and we have a different business model. We have a couple section. It's almost like an entertainment club, social erotic club. So we have
I've heard
a vast
before.
clientele.
Yes, I've heard before on just I guess Google reviews that there's VIP sections.
Yeah, the VIP section's upstairs. It's a mezzanine. You can check it on our website and our gallery. You can see what it looks like. It's amazing space for couples who want to
Yes.
swing sometimes, or just be intimate with their partner, stay in their bubble, and just be in that kind of environment, matching energy.
I don't mean to be rude, just in terms of, well, my opinion with this. Out of curiosity though, this type of pornography that you're showing tonight, is it typically the ones that you do show on a daily?
Yeah.
Salut.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's pretty much early 2000s, scene after scene. It's not the best.
Yes, if
It's really tough. We can't. We would love to get the vintage stuff during the day, but it's too hard right now. We need a better system. We need better sound. We need rights because all those rights have gone to different distribution companies. So we're just recycling films. People really come for the environment. Hardly any, like this is tomorrow's scheduling, you know, like 30 plus sluts and Milfomaniac. It's nothing special.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I could tell that quite a few of the attendants tonight were, well, they weren't very into it, or they were
No.
very distracted.
Yeah.
Mainly because I could tell that two of the attendants were clearly jerking off to me. So.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, younger, blonde hair, you know,
Yes.
that happens. As long as you're comfortable, and if you're not, you can totally voice your opinion. Everyone's very respectful and understanding there.
Yes.
Like, I know the clients very well.
Oh, good.
Established
No,
a
it's
pretty
just,
good relationship.
No, I had at least two well enough short conversations. Just, well, the latter experience clearly wasn't in favor for me.
Mm-hmm.
Are people permitted to go out the back doors?
Of course, yeah.
Ah,
That's
okay.
the St. Dominic exit.
Oh,
More discreet. Some people don't like being seen, so
Ah.
go out to the back. Residential. Anyways, I gotta change the schedule.
Ah.
I'm Devin, by the way.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Cam.
Ken, nice to meet you. Maybe I'll see you around again. Follow us on Instagram for the next programming for L'Amour à Minuit. These events are going to keep getting better and better. We have, it's going to be fun. We have some important, fun news to announce as soon as it's in paper, written in paper.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're going to get the.
Just one last thing, I
Yeah,
guess.
of course.
Do you guys, are you able to project videos from, say, porn sites, or does it have to be from
Anything. We can do anything. Anything from a computer. We have an HDMI attached to the projector.
If it's possible, would I be able to leave some recommendations for pornographers that you might want to?
But we have to have the rights. Rights is a serious issue. We can't just play anything. We have to have like the legal Quebec, like like these. They're not on these films anymore, but it's this little sticker. Okay, but they're not. Anyways, it's a sticker that shows that we have the rights, permit numbers. We don't want to get caught. We don't risk it. Not worth it.
I understand.
But do you have any recommendations? Maybe we have filmed with these pornographers. So we have a shit ton of films upstairs. We've got a crazy catalog.
Well, you might be able to email them for the rights, if not, because I'm not so much
Are they
talking.
full-length features? They have to be full-length features, like an hour 30 to 2 hours, 20-minute films.
Oh no, I was more so talking about like say just videos you could find.
Yeah, you can't do that. No, it's not gonna work.
Understandable.
Anyways, Cam, pleasure. I gotta run.
Nice to meet
Hope
you.
to see you again.
See you later.
You are a thing of absolute, horrifying, unspeakable nightmares. Alright, last restaurant of the video, Ramen Ishin. This is a South Korean culturally themed restaurant, and I went in there, well, now about 3 days ago or so, and it was the first time that I've ever actually had authentic South Korean food. I don't think I've probably had a certain amount of snacks, obviously, before from South Korea, but never anything in terms of an actual genuinely crafted meal from, well, South Korean culture. So into the dining area we go. I'm honestly impressed with myself, as I've actually, within only 2 times of having really properly tried using chopsticks, I'd say I've gotten the hang of it. The other time being when I was showcasing small business restaurants in St. Martin, district of Laval. So, not excellent, but better. And this is absolutely delicious. So, in regards to Camden, there will absolutely be those of you saying to me now, aha, this is proof you should be keeping extensive guard over all your items, especially ones that you leave outside. You should be securing it to the maximum extent that you can. Or, at the very least, this is why the homeless life is horrible and you shouldn't be living it. All wrong. All of them wrong. Except for maybe a bit of the securing part, which, yes, I tried to do for Camden, mind you. I didn't have a lock. So, let me tell you something. Out of the over at least 130 times that I have left items, specifically movable, wheeled objects, like Cardi B in Camden, of all the times I've left them just out and about in a busy area, whether having kept an extensive eye on them or to some degree maybe less than I should have been. How many times have I had things stolen from me? How many times? 3. 3 times out of over 130 times. Those odds don't equal the reaction of hyperbolic paranoia. I will not let this incident, despite how devastating it is to me, influence my social paranoid disorder any more than it already has. I will not stop putting my trust in people in terms of my belongings, leaving them out and about, especially at safe places like my campsites, when I leave them behind for the day. I will not stop, no matter what. Even if I end up losing every item that I have on me, I will not stop putting my friggin' trust in people. It is not too much faith to put in other human beings. Sadly, that is the same idea that fuels the paranoia in the first place. So, it's a terrible loss. But, you know what? For only having known Camden here in Montreal, he was fantastic. He worked like a charm and worked his ass off to help in our goal of trying to go against these oppressive systems as much as possible, and to help me travel, which I'm thankful to him for. talk extensively. Every time I used him, every time I needed him, he was there for me. He didn't break down once, and obviously can't help it if he did, but he didn't stall. He had no difficulty, major difficulty in terms of traveling around, for the most part, at least as far as I'm concerned. So, and considering where we went in Montreal, what we saw, well, we already had quite the adventure with him, for as short as it was. Now I will miss it. So, here's to you, Camden. We knew you such a short amount of time. But you left an impact either way. Will I get another bike? I have no clue. Definitely not paying over $100 for it, that's for sure. So, only time will tell. We'll see. So, something that I've been taking notice of to some degree or another, both here along the main boulevard of Plateau, Montréal, and down on Saint Laurent, where Cinéma the Mont is the fact that there are a considerable number of foreclosed establishments and just vacant leasing spaces in terms of portions of building units. Some that look just entirely abandoned, as if they're not even planning on revamping them or selling them off, whoever the private property owners are for it. And from what I can piece together, that could most likely be attributed to, one, back when the COVID-19 pandemic was in extremely high, well, effect, and massive government-mandated lockdowns had occurred. But even now, with the pandemic being on a downswing, as far as I'm concerned from my own research and their social observations, and it being safer now with more access to vaccines to some degree for, well, those of almost all classes. Oh, désolé. it's gotten to a point where, well, it's a lot. I'll also talk about these things in a second. To a point where it's a lot of. Generally, it's safer to mingle and walk around without needing a mask or remaining a far enough distance away from one another. But even so, many businesses have not been able to bounce back very clearly, especially in this portion of Montreal. And well, it's very sad to see. Another reason for that as well would most likely be due to the fact that much of, well, the services that the businesses provided, because of digital, some amount of genuine advancements and just, well, as well as unnecessary updates to technological abilities in terms of, say, delivery services or just general production service providers for various materials being able to distribute their products completely online. Well, it's put many, again, those businesses out of business. I wouldn't doubt that along with the mandated closures of what was deemed non-essential businesses, which for the most part, as far as I'm concerned, by this point now in my thought process, many of those that had to close their doors were essential to one degree or another. And well, governments obviously played favoritism for mega corporate entities. But anyway, well, it's very, very sad to see, I'll say. And accompanying that, it also doesn't help that stuff like this is very clearly prevalent all over the place. Mass gentrification along this one road. And in that regard, it's so ridiculous considering the fact that there is yet another instance of corporate cannibalism. As once I get closer to it, I'll point it out. But there are two, count them, two Couche-Tard convenience store branches, which is it's the biggest, Couche-Tard is the biggest convenience corporation in all of the Canadian province of Quebec. And they have two locations on this road, not more than pretty well 2 blocks away from each other. They also did something similar in Anjou that I noticed. 2 locations, pretty well back to back. Which is ridiculous. So, let me just get up a ways to see if I can actually showcase it. Okay, here's one right at the corner I was at last night between these 2 banks. One mega corporate, one moderate corporate. So, there's that.
My chance actually, are any of you local to Montreal? Are you guys local to Montreal?
Yeah.
I haven't been analytical neuroscience. I do a lot of social research.
Ouais, morceau s'il vous plaît, please, thank you. I just need one, at least one. Voilà. Downloading. Toilet paper is so expensive, guys.
Why are you looking at?
Just out of curiosity.
Okay.
I do a lot of social research with demographics.
That's good.
I don't know.
That's alright.
Hope you found
Mine
the
is
box.
this one, if you see it, that's mine.
Ah, nice.
I like your makeup.
Thank you.
Pas tant, non, mais c'est pas grave, on a dit pas. Ouais, on a genre
Guys on
part-time?
That's for sale to pay my rent.
Yeah, because his roommate, he went off.
J'étais genre, bro, I got no boobs. Yo, you're in a petit pour les enfants. J'étais genre, bro, you fucking reason there's scars on my body, that's because I fucking moved them. You fucking ask you some questions when you don't wear t-shirts. Ça veut dire qu'on a besoin de papier cul. Toilet paper.
Bonjour, ça va bien? Oui, on vend les barres. On les met à mi, après on va on prend même les dons.
Right there's the other one. Okay, so I was wrong, it's 4 blocks down, but either way, if you look well enough, you can practically see them both in the same field of distance in terms of vision, or visibility. So yeah, corporate cannibalism, and it's ridiculous. It's so incredibly clear how most of the businesses on this road are incredibly struggling. But, of course, the municipal government will drum up as if they have mass care for this area, as if it's a gem of multiculturalism for the city. When in reality, it's just a means of profit gain and making various cultures feel as if they have a welcome place within, let's say, specifically this area, or the city as a whole, or the province, or the country, or just, yeah, as a whole as human beings. But in terms of their ideologies, the elites, they don't.
Moi, c'est juste ça. Bah, moi, je suis un peu en train, ouais, c'est aussi. Moi, je regarde des trop plaisir. Est-ce que tu as fait quelque chose là-dessus?
Je ne sais pas français, que pas anglais.
We're looking for anything specific.
Oh no, I was just browsing. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask either of you two a few questions. You. I'm new to the area, and I happen to be a social researcher, of sorts, an analytical scientist, and I'm wondering if you might be able to tell me a bit about the area. Please?
Well, I've only worked here specifically for the last few months. But this area, the Plateau, primarily one of the more affluent areas of the city. A lot of French people live here. So like this is the most concentrated.
C'est ça que j'étais en train
So
de
yeah, the question you're
Parce qu'il y a des, il y a beaucoup de noirs.
like because it's legal there, not here, we get that a lot.
Oui, mais il n'y a pas de décès.
Generally nice place. Cool shops.
Je vais en dire sur le marché noir, ça se fait bien, mais il faut le faire venir par internet. C'est tout, c'est juste.
Well,
Mais c'est que c'est
actually,
légal à la base,
I've been,
je sais pas si vous saviez,
in
mais c'est
Montreal for the
rare.
last
C'est rare,
month or
c'est
so,
sûr.
and I've noticed
Fait que c'est possible de l'avoir
a few
tu peux
graffiti
le
tags
posséder,
around
c'est juste
in
illégal.
some areas. These ones in particular. I
Ouais,
wonder
c'est
if you might be able
un truc pour
to tell me anything about their significance, if you know anything about that.
Mais c'est comme les.
Don't know the significance, but the top one because of the.
Les gaz Laurent, c'est légal en tant que tel, mais c'est légal si tu l'achètes pour quelque chose. Fait que c'est plein de petits trucs.
Typically used in Wisconsin.
Ça, j'aurais bien aimé que tu sais.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mais comme juste si vous restez un peu, il y a une caméra en 3 jours sur Internet.
Unless they mean as a target, but even then, if they're doing that, I still
Ouais,
want to
c'est
be
ça. Ça s'achète bien.
Interesting. I noticed that one more so when I'm seeing right here, though.
Ceux en vert, apparemment, ils sont encore mieux que ceux en
That's good to know.
plastique.
This area also seems to be very high for the LGBTQ populace.
Ouais, c'est parce que j'étais comme un peu peur.
Ah oui, d'accord.
Ouais, c'est comme complètement. Ça va vraiment dépendre. Les deux ont des avantages. Dans le fond, les avantages du verre, déjà c'est beaucoup plus rigide. Donc pour aller chercher un massage du bungee, justement, c'est ça qu'on va préférer le verre. Le verre aussi peut être interchangeable, on peut le partager soit avec des partenaires, soit anal vaginal, anal vaginal. C'est juste qu'on peut le faire bouillir, donc toujours le faire bouillir. Il y a moyen d'aller chercher aussi n'importe quelle sorte de bouillie. Il y a de la dilatation, effectivement, il y a des choses qui peuvent par contre,
So, I was just inside here, Seduction. It's a sex shop that has quite a variety of selection, the most I've actually seen out of any sex shop I've ever really been in. And as, well, you couldn't see from the footage, because my phone just cannot help sliding to the completely covered felt, or fabric. I don't know if it's actually, no, maybe not felt. Whatever, the fabric that is completely sewn shut, so you have no visibility in the netted sleeve whatsoever. But it's also very clearly the most LGBTQ friendly sex shop I've ever been in as well. So that was very pleasant to see. So, a white supremacist group. That's not very inviting. So, at least I've gathered some amount more information about these symbols. Specifically, just the top one, 5 groups. So, some amount more, if that is, well, like the employee was saying, the Irish cross. No clue. But, hey, it's better than no other leads. So, yeah. One bit more. Something more, I don't fucking know. So, right now, I'm in, well, the main bustling area of this boulevard. And at this time of day, it's very, very lively, as you can tell. Very happy to see it. Not happy to see something like you. Or, well, something like you. Not in the slightest. But in terms of the authenticity, to a large extent, I'm happy to see it. Well, I'm also not happy to see this. Or this. But, well, some peacefulness amongst perishing pain. Magical amazement amongst a sea of misery. Okay, I decided to stop in another restaurant, and I know I'm going to have issues editing this video because of storage again. So I'm just going to end the video here. And just showcase the food I'm eating right now. So, have a nice day. The cafe's name is Stena Pool, I believe, by the way.